So, welcome to the channel. My name is Karsh Goblin. This is GoblinCaveTV, and this is our weekly tabletop RPG book club, or TTRPG book club, so to speak. And today we are having a look at Tales from the Loop, the starter set specifically. In the background, you can hear Syrinscape. We use Syrinscape for we use Syrinscape for all our audio needs. They are amazing. Go check them out at syrinscape.com. Currently, we're playing the abandoned space station, eerie silence with music, because you can't have eerie silence without music. I've actually been playing this quite a lot this week. I do like it. It just has that little bit of that background ambience, which really gets me. We've been having a look at, we've been doing stuff about aliens and Tales from the Loop and a few other space or sciencey stuff, which is a little bit on edge stuff, and I actually like it. So again, today we're looking at Tales from the Loop. You can see the PDF. This is just the rules section, so just this book here, and it's actually really interesting. I like this game. I say this a lot. A lot of these games I really like, and it sounds like I say a lot. So I really like this game. So this finally arrived. I believe that I ordered it months and months ago, and something may have happened. I can't even track down what happened. But shipping is really weird at the moment with COVID this year, so it could still be in the mail somewhere. So I ended up just ordering it again. I found it really cheap on sale, locally, and it came within days. I'm like, wow. So really really amazing. I've already got Tales from the Loop full core rule book as well. I picked this up earlier because as I said, I was really enthusiastic about the system. It really struck a nerve with me. And I've got Things from the Flood. So this is the 1990s version. This is the 1980s version. And they are essentially stories of things that never happened, which is kind of a weird way of doing role-playing, but role-playing's always about fantasy anyway. So the Tales from the Loop is about an 80s which never was, yet there's still technology which has been around for a while, which doesn't exist here. So what I'm talking about that, and we'll actually go into a few bits and pieces when we go into the book itself. We're talking about not hovercrafts, but mag-lift ships that fly across and deliver cargo and stuff instead of, say, semi-trailers. You've got autonomous robots, or sorry, autonomous balanced vehicles, or sorry, not vehicles, but machines, which essentially robots. They've been around for years, and things like this is just they're commonplace. So it's really weird that what we would see is, oh my god, that's so sci-fi, but it's not. The idea is that this is there, but it has been there for 10, 20 years, or even 30 years, and so it's just ignored. Which is really, really cool. It's a different way of thinking where, yes, it's got sci-fi in it, but the game has got nothing to do with the sci-fi. Well, it does have stuff to do with sci-fi, but it's not a sci-fi game, which I think is really, really cool. So the setting is, so you've got two settings. You've got Swedish Loop and you've got the Boulder City Loop. We're going to be talking more about the original setting, which is the Swedish Loop, and it's also the setting of the TV show as well. TV show is weird, and it's a good idea of what this is, what the game is about. So we're talking about a large particle accelerator built in the 70s with a lot of experiments going on. Your parents work for this place, work in this location. They pretty much all work in the town, and under the town is that, and pretty much they all work as experiments, as scientists there. The parents ignore you for the most part. You are, as long as you come back by night time, as long as you get your homework done, and things like that. So it's a role-playing game about being a kid, about having that mindset of being a kid, of having those adventures of being kids, and solving the problems that your parents cause. So it's really cool. It's really out there. I will point out there's some really cool dice as well in the setting. The rule set for the setting, and just right up front, the rule set's one of the easiest ones I've seen. You roll as many d6s as you have in a skill, so it's a dice pool system. Sixes are successes. Usually you only need one. For almost everything, you just need one. One success. There's no fumbles, there's no setbacks like that. There's no injuries, you cannot die. You can take on setbacks or essentially conditions, but you, the player, say which condition you take. So if you're scared, that's a condition. That's like their version of a health condition, and you'll get a -1 to rolls until you're no longer scared. Until the situation is resolved, essentially healed, you have that. And there's other ones as well, but they're also role-playing aids. They're not just you take X amount of runes or whatnot. This is things which actually give you, okay, I've got to remember I'm scared, I've got to act out, I've got to play that. Really cool idea. Now, we'll get into the rules and let's have a look at these. So there's a few things I want to touch on. We're not going to explore the whole thing. It's a 33-page book. That includes the prefaces, etc. So it's not a huge rule set. So the other full rule sets are much bigger. Now, so welcome to the loop. The artwork is spectacular. Really spectacular. And it really has that 80s vibe. You got the sweatband, you got your BMX with the plastic spokes, the backpacks, everything is spot on. Everything is really spot on. So I want to go through the examples. Some of the examples I really stuck out to me. So, Game Master. So we're going to start here, and the rest of it continues the next page. As always, as well, we have the darkened shade over the image, just because the whiteness generally of the PDFs are really bright. And I'd also want to thank Free League Publishing as well for providing the PDF. Thank you, Free League Publishing. Thank you. Sorry, the other physical stuff was mine. But yes, thank you for the PDF. So, the example down the bottom. So, Game Master. Through the kitchen window, you can see the shape of someone. Maybe your mother is moving around as if struggling. Sorry. Maybe your mother moving around as if someone is struggling. Player 1, playing Kelly. I've slowly put my bike on the ground, carefully not to make any noise, and then try to sneak past the robot because to the house. Player 2. Oh no, you don't. Oh no, don't do it. Game Master. Does Erin do anything to stop her? Do you want to help her? Player 2. Can I try to distract the robot by throwing something out in the street? Game Master. Sure. Okay, Kelly, which is player 1. Roll sneak. Erin, give her an extra dice to help. So you roll 3 dice because you've got body of, because that's what you've got in your body, plus an extra dice because of the assistance, and you get 1/6. Done. That succeeds. But this is where things change. This is where I like this narrative system. It's very different. The GM. Okay, so what happens? So the player describes what happens. Player 2. So as Kelly is about to open the gate to the garden, I take one of the strange painted or metal decorations that Kelly's mother has placed in the gate, or placed by the gate, and then throw it on a lamppost across the street. Player 1. At the same moment, I slowly sneak past the robot, and then the games master takes up the narrative again. There's a lot more player contributions. This is a player collaborative world building and player collaborative world. So a lot of role-playing systems, they say, okay, it's about a conversation or it's about telling a story by your player's actions. This is the players actually narrating a lot of things, and it's really good in how it does it. I just wanted to really point that one out because it's really cool. So you do get these dice. That's a better photo picture of the dice, or again the shape, with the box set, and it's you don't need them. You can just use any dice. But again, sixes are key, and you can see on that they've got a special six there. So Tales from the Loop is playing kids aged between 10 and 15. There's systems for how old your character will be, and there's benefits and minuses to that as well. And it's about the mysteries that the kids encounter, the strange machines and creatures exist as a result of the nearby loop, huge underground particle accelerator built in the 60s. The kids get to escape their everyday lives and problems to be part of something meaningful and magical, yet also dangerous. The risk of getting injured is also changed. So, getting injured and also changed by the troubles they have encountered. So they have to overcome and solve the mysteries. So it's really cool. There's a whole scenario in the starter box called The Recycled Boy. I've had a skim through it. It's really nice on par. The way they talk about a setting and a game session is more about an episode and more about a TV, and these are very much styled like a TV. So while the GM sets a scene and the players add to that scene by adding bits and pieces, and the GM actively asks, okay, what is your parents fighting about in this scene, or what is this, what is that, and you like, what is so strange about the person next door? So the games master might set the scene, but there's so much player add into that to build that world, which is really, really different from most role-playing games. Usually it's the GM or the games master or dungeon master, keeper, etc. that sets the world, and the players reacting to that. But this is the players setting the world. The GM does have final say, and there's core principles as well, which we're going to get to. So it's got how does role-playing work, etc. Explains about the two loops, the Swedish and US, or you can just play it in your hometown. Makes it even nicer. Core rulebook, principles of the loop. This is what we want to have a look at. Your hometown is full of fantastic things. Everyday life is dull and unforgiving. Adults are out of reach and out of touch. Mysteries are dangerous, but kids will not die. The game is played scene by scene. The world is described collaboratively. So your hometown is full of strange, fantastic things. This is where it talks about the hover things, the maglifts, the robots and things like that. But these have been around for a while, so they're not actually fantastical. And that's what you got to remember. That yes, it's full of these things. There's also lots of experiments that have gone wrong, that have been discarded, or that have gone awry, and etc. So use your experience as a kid, whether you are one now or it was many years ago, to create magical wonder. Think of how it feels for a kid to sneak out in the middle of the night to secretly meet your friends, to dive underwater, to dive deeper underwater to gather stones, to ride your bike as fast as you can on hilly trails, etc. Things like that. While you've got robots sticking around, they're boring. They're just normal. But it's the magical things of being a kid, which is the focus here, which is kind of weird. So this is the everyday life is dull and unforgiving. The alarm clock rings in the morning, homework must be done every night. It doesn't matter that there are Magnatech ships that sail by outside the windows. Mum and Dad still quarrel, and your brother seems to hate you. Your house smells like fish. You don't get enough pocket money to buy the tape you want. The garbage has to be thrown out every day. Bullies give you names. Your bike is broken. It's raining. You have no rain. It's just life is just normal. Life is dull, even though there is stuff going on, like the Magnatech ships that float past. It's still but it's the escape that you get to do. That's where the real fun comes in. So the adults are out of touch and out of reach, which is a nice one as well. So it doesn't matter what you say. Adults are neither listen nor understand. They live their own world. There's no point in asking them for help with problems. mysteries to be solved, or troubles must be overcome. So the kids are on their own. Adults won't even believe all the strange things that the kids encounter. And I like that really nice start to the narrative of what's going on. So even if you do tell them, they're not going to either believe you or understand what you're saying. They live in their own world. They're scientists. They live in their own bits and pieces. They're not going to listen to kids. They're not going to listen to the fanciful things that kids think. Well, they think their kids are making up, which are generally usually failed experiments from either themselves or the predecessors or colleagues, etc. So that in itself is really cool. Um, adults nag and whine and argue with each other. They are busy with themselves and their work. Moreover, they are ignorant, and their usually their mistakes. So it is usually their mistakes that the kids need to fix. Machines that run amok, experiments gone bad, aircraft that crash or explode. Worse, the adults who actually see the kids want to exploit them or harm them. Sometimes adults help, like when your dad comforts you, or you call the police and they catch the burglar, but it never lasts and often comes with a price. So the police take all the glory. Your stepmom wants you to mow all the lawn all summer as payment for your help, or your father sees you as or your teacher sees you as an ally who expects you then to work for her to then like help in class with the bullies, etc. So there's all these prices. So it is a case of you're on your own, but if you do really, really need it, it's going to cost you. I like it. So the land of the loop is dangerous, but kids will not die. The kids can be hurt, locked up, mocked, displaced, robbed, broken-hearted, but they cannot die in this game. Really, really important part. I mean, I usually go the whole dark, dangerous world. I really like that when I do role-playing games, which is kind of like I like not Shadowrun, but Call Cthulhu, Zweihander, things like that, which are that dark, grim, where you can lose a character really quickly. And we're going to be talking about one of those type of games soon, actually, which is highly recommended. So things like that, I really like that style. But this, you're talking about role-playing kids between 10 and 15. You're really putting yourself in the minds of the kids. That's a hard thing to really push. So I do understand where they're coming from and why they've taken that narrative approach, or that hard approach of you cannot die in this. So the game is played scene by scene, just like movies. The mystery is played out in scenes. First, the characters talk to each other in house. Then we skip to when they meet each other at school. So I meet their teacher at school. Don't play out every little bit in pieces. Skip the less important parts, which is how we usually do role playing stuff. We try to skip the non-important parts, and it's also what we do on our streaming for our shows. Is we want to skip the less important parts. I do not want to role play, so I do not want a shopping scene where there's no role play. If there's no role play, it's not important. We move. If it's not worth role playing, we move on. Sometimes we'll do like a shopping scene role played out, usually for the first initial encounter. From that point on, you can go, okay, it's going to be pretty much like that from that point on. We might come back to it and reinitialize those encounters if there's been a while, but yeah, not role playable, move on. So skip on. So the other thing is that the game master can set the scene from their own. So we'll move back a little bit because I was about to skip something. So Tales on the Loop. In Tales on the Loop, the game master is the one who sets the scenes, often with the help of players. Setting a scene means to initiate the scene and end when the scene is done. The game master should consult the players when unsure. That's a really different approach. So the game master can set a scene on her own initiative, like this. When you come home at night, you hear someone crying in the kitchen. Your father is sitting at the table. When he sees you, he puts on a fake smile. What do you do? It's a nice little setting scene. Really gentle approach. The game master should also ask the players to suggest scenes which should be set. A good rule of thumb is to allow players to set every other scene. That is not common. That is never done. Okay, maybe done in some Power by Apocalypse games, etc. But this is really not a common approach for the old school Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, even like Call of Cthulhu, Shadowrun, etc. This is a really different approach, and I like how it's done. So I like the idea. I haven't seen it in practice yet. Is probably the better way of putting it. So, for example, the game master from the game master. Does anyone have a scene? Player one. I would like to break in. I'd like to break into the school and see what they're hiding. Game master. Do you go alone? Player one. Yes. And then it starts narrating the start of the scene, but the player then contributes. So the world is described collaboratively. So the game master is responsible for setting scenes and describing things in the story, but does not mean that she should do it all herself. The game master should ask the players for help all the time, ask them what the school looks like, what the weather is like, why the neighbours are arguing, and so on. The game master should ask the kids questions like, "What does your mother look like? What's fishy about the lady in the house next door? What is the mood? What is the mood like in the house when you get home? How do you feel? What are you thinking? What have you done that makes her hate you? What are you wearing? How come you love her?" The game master should use the player's imagination by asking questions all the time and making sure the group creates the world together. But here we go. If the players make up flying schools and parents who work as alien hunters, the game master should remind them of the principle: everyday life is dull and unforgiving. So there is you can rein them back in. It's like, no, this is just come on, let's come back. I got players in my old face-to-face role-playing group that in this type of narrative style, they would just run amok. And there's no containing them. And I know exactly the one person which I would have problems with. But with the right group and with the right mindset, I think this would be a great idea. Again, haven't seen it in practice. I like the idea. I like the concept here. So the age of the loop. So the presence of the loop feels everywhere in the Malarian Islands. Our parents worked there. Ruxan, I can't pronounce names. Oh god. Service vehicles patrol the roads and skies. Strange machines roam the woods, and glades and meadows. Whatever forces range deep below. Whatever forces range deep below sent vibrations up through the bedrock. The flint lime bricks and emmet facades into our living room. So it's everywhere. The loop is everywhere. So the 80s it never off. So we're talking about the whole town is the loop is underneath the town. So you've got this constant hum in the background. You've got cooling towers off in the distance. There's a beautiful. There we go. I knew it was one of the books. So you probably won't be able to see, but the cooling towers in the distance, the constant reminding that this is your town, this is what's going on. Yet no one talks about the loop. Also, no one talks about what goes on underneath the ground because it's all top secret. Just everyone is involved in this industry. So it's kind of this ever present, but because your parents won't talk about it and won't talk about their work, this secret, not really secret, but this, how can I put it? So it's not a secret, but this, something goes on there. That's where your parents work, and this is just normal. And it's really weird where it is a normal. So yeah, so it goes into details about the 80s that never was. Talks about the freighters, the balanced automatons, which is the robots, etc. And this is just the rule book for the starter set. So the players should read this and get a really good understanding of the setting, and it's a really good way of just understanding the setting. Um, so it's got movies to watch, to refer to. So Ghostbusters, Top Gun, Return of the Jedi, Goonies is a good one. E.T., Breakfast Club is also a good one. Back to the Future, Stand By Me. Probably out of all of them, I think Stand By Me and Goonies are probably the best ones for examples because it is that kids on adventure. Karate Kid, etc., etc. So there's some really good ones. Or you can just watch Tales in the Loop, and they've got their own series, so you can watch that. So it's really cool. It goes into the details. It goes into enough details about the timeline and about the setting, but it doesn't just bombard you with like 50 pages of setting, which some books will do. So it's a nice little, okay, so this is it, and it's an easy read. So, like a really nice little read there. So the Swedish loop, it goes into the difference between the Swedish loop and the American loop. And also talks not just about the Swedish loop and the American loop, but kind of the differences between what's going on in Sweden, and not just in like not just in the actual nation itself, but culturally as well, which is really really nice. It talks about how parents are like there's only two TV stations, but VCRs have just come in, and like the people learn English in schools, but because of VCRs and because of American pop culture and that type of things, people like kids start speaking more of an American accent than the British that's actually taught in schools. And you got those little bits and pieces how parents don't like the heavy metal rock music, and there's all this tension there. It's some really interesting stuff, and it outlines it really really simply. Talks also about the background of having been feared for the bomb, which is in the 80s that was the ever present, the nuclear bomb threat, just like the global warming threat is today. That always in the background of global warming, it was always in the background of the nuclear bomb. So it goes into enough detail for you to go, oh yeah, okay, I've got to keep reminding, got to remember that as well. But it doesn't go in again into the whole huge depth of it, because this is 30 pages of rules and that, and again the rules simply D6 for how many you've got. So it's got growing up in Sweden. It talks about computers, Commodore 64, the fact that people are pirating cassette tapes with Commodore 64 games, VHS movies, etc. It goes into like enough detail to go, oh, this is really cool. And it goes into the USA loop as well, mixtapes as well, Billie Jean, Michael Jackson, Take On Me from Aha. I have got pretty much all of these, which is just disturbing. Really disturbing. And some of them I probably even had tapes of. So, now we go into the actual kids itself. So with the kids, it does give you a good a good amount of details on how to play kids. So we've got your age. All characters between 10 and 15. Your age affects your attribute scores and the amount of luck points you have. But also how you picture your kid in the mind you play your character. So from memory, the lower your age, the more luck you get, which can just like get you out of some really bad things, because young kids seem to bounce back and they seem to be really lucky. Yet older kids, they take things more seriously, and when they do it, they therefore get hurt more. You've got your abilities, which is simply body, tech, heart, and mind, and it goes into details of kind of what they mean by them, and it goes into exploring them further. So, body for sneak, for forcing things, for movement, tech for tinkering, programming, calculates. So it expands them again, gives you a brief, and then gives you an expanded. I like the idea. Luck points, here we go. So luck points are something that you can use to overcome trouble more easily. They give you the chance to re-roll a dice. or to re-roll dice, not a dice, but re-roll dice. This is explained further, which in the other part, yeah. So the younger kids are luckier than older kids. You start the game with a number of luck points equal to 15 minus your age. So a 10-year-old would have 5, a 14-year-old would have 1, and that's kind of how the balance works. So the younger kids, which like the younger sister, is always that little bit luckier, and bounces back from being hurt a little bit better. And it's a nice way of like just balancing things a little bit, where the older kids may have more skills, the younger kids just are luckier and they get through things by just being innocent. Aww. And I like that. So I like this part here. So each character has a signature and icon, an iconic item. This is something which, for example, a hockey stick. It gives you a +2. So the signature item will give you a +2 in circumstances where you're going to use it. Because your signature item, you always carry on your hockey stick. That's your signature item. So if you're using something which you're trying to like make a path and using a hockey stick to beat away things, and it spreads out and whatnot. These signature items are usually something which are really important to you. If it gets stolen or lost, you'll have to you'll find it before the end of the mystery. It cannot be used by other kids, so it always comes back essentially. But or you get a replacement, etc. But a lot of the items you have are mundane and just but there's stuff where you can have a +1 item or up to +3, where things which are like things in a mystery which are really key to that mystery, and so you can get these items which are really perfect for a situation. So it's hard to explain, but it's a nice little way of like, because it just gives you a +2 dice, a +1, +2, or +3 to a dice roll, like as in extra dice to roll. So it's not super powerful. It's not like this magical, mystical thing, but they're things that will help in the mysteries. And I like how they just use these simple techniques to convey these things. So when it comes to like the actual spirit of playing a kid, they've got a few things like drive, problem, pride, relationships, and again those conditions, which is like the health of a character. So drive, your drive is the reason why you expose yourself to dangers. It's difficult situations to solve mysteries with your friends. It helps you understand you're a kid and makes it easy to get involved in a mystery. Whatever is going on, the kids will figure it out. So the drive is what puts you in danger. Why you want to do this? What are you going to do this? Sorry, not what are you going to do, but why are you going to do it? Why you seek that. So problem, all kids have a problem. You may have kept yours to yourself or told the other kids. The problem is part of everyday life, something that worries you during a game. The game master will use your problem to put you in trouble. Which is, what they say is like they use the problem to push you into situations which you probably wouldn't want, but it draws you into those situations. And there's some interesting problems in the base characters that are provided. So there's 5 characters of the book, and each character has a Swedish version and an American version, essentially just changing the name. But when it references through the actual scenario, it references both versions. Like the English version will have in brackets in orange of, okay, that's the same for this. And you can quickly, if you're playing the English versions, the American version, I should say, it's easily referenceable, and you can see it easily. But I like that they've at least they've changed the names. They haven't tried to Americanize the Swedish names, or they haven't just bastardized the Swedish names by making them totally American, which wouldn't fit the setting. Both settings are true to each other. They've got 2 maps, and they're very different maps, and locations are different, but you find things, yeah. I like how they've been able to separate things, but still keep them very much true to each other. So pride. Every kid has pride, something that makes you feel strong, important, and valuable. The game master should use your pride to put you in trouble by setting up scenes that highlight or threaten your pride. A classmate turns out to be so, a classmate turns out to be as good or as better as you at school. Dad is losing his job at the fire station, and animal is tormented, etc. Pride is also a good tool for understand and play your kid. The problem and pride may interact, and pride can even become a problem, but it may also be two separate things. Once per mystery, you may check your pride to get an automatic success on a die roll. You can check your pride after a failed die roll. If you succeed, if you or even after a successful die roll in order to get an extra success. And the example down here is an example of being scared to go into the darkness and the player checking their pride. No, I can do this. I can do this, because their pride is nothing scares me is their pride. So nothing scares me. So they check their pride. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go down into this, and that's a way of going. Okay, I'm going to do this. So a nice little subsystem there. But again, it's also giving you a really good idea of how your child is thinking and how your child probably should react, or how your character should react to certain situations. Okay. So, also in the example, it doesn't just go, okay, my character's not afraid of anything, I'm going to do it. No, you still play the character, but if you fail, then you go, oh, no, nothing's makes me afraid, and then you check it, you tick that off and go, okay, I'll automatically success. It's not a case of, look, I'm not afraid of anything, I'm going to do it anyway. No, there's still that emotion there. So, relationships. So each character pre-generated kid has relationships to the other kids. Sometimes they're siblings, sometimes they're secret romantic relationships. Sometimes they're public romantic relationships. Sometimes with the same people or different people, which is quite weird. So you've got like these kind of love triangles, like I'm dating this person, but this person likes me and I know it, and like I'm okay with them, but everyone wants me to go out with this person I'm actually dating, but I like this other person more. There's some really interesting interplays, and that is really, really nice. I'm seeing this more and more like in games, and it's a beautiful way of getting a group to work together. Some groups are very distant, very antagonistic. When you start a game, like a role-playing game, not having that connection can be really hard. Yes, it's fun to have that play out in game and have those connections form in game, but it leaves those first, say, 5 sessions without any connection to each other, and you're just doing stuff because that's what the story means. That's what the story is forcing you to do. So having those things put previously is such a big benefit. I know the 5th edition, is it 5th edition? Oh, the recent Vampire Masquerade starter kit has a beautiful mind map or relationship map between all the characters, and it encourages you to actually put down what relationships you have between each character in the party, and it's a really great way of doing it. And I really encourage it in games which we run here, is have those relationships. If it's a party which has a history, have those relationships. And having kids even more so, because kids do have these really weird web of relationships between each other, and they can just flicker on and off. I see it in my nieces all the time. My goblin doesn't form relationships as much because of his autism. Is so severe, but my nieces, I've seen them grow up and like, I'm not talking to this person now. Oh, this is my best friend now. Oh, and just like quick on off, and having those portrayed here, great way of doing it. So conditions, we've mentioned before that the kids can't die. So kids can't die, but they can suffer from conditions. When you try to overcome trouble but fail, or if you push a dice roll, again, see chapter 4 a little bit further, you can be forced to take a condition. So you are forced to take one. There are 5 conditions, and the first 4 are mild, upset, So first four are mild. So upset, scared, exhausted, and injured. The exact interpretation of the condition may vary, so it's very much up to the player to go, okay, this fits it. This is how I'm going to play it out. You decide what condition to take as the player, and you get a -1 to the rolls until that condition is healed. So it's not just getting like band-aid or something, but actually getting past, like, if you're scared, you want to, like, healing that condition is to like move past it, or finding out, oh, there's nothing to be scared about. But up until that part, you're still taking that -1s. But I like that the player takes the condition, picks which one is right for the situation, because that's the one that they're going to be role playing out. They also stack, so the -1s stack to, say, -2, -3, etc. If you get broken, something really bad has happened. You are mentally or physically hurt, and you will automatically fail dice rolls until healed. So that's the full nut. Not going to do it. Nut. That's the broken. So that can be physical harm, or it can just be mental. I'm just no way. And I see that with my goblin all the time. With his autism, his behavioural mechanisms, his behavioural understanding of the world are not in tune with the world, so he can just shut down and just no. And people see it as tantrums, etc. It's at the moment he's quite on edge because of daylight savings changeover recently. We believe that's changed his mindset, and that's just put him off, and it's going to take him a while to adapt if that's the case. Otherwise, we're still trying to find out what it is. But that's an example of broken. That's like no. So yeah, I think that's really it's a nice system to still have injuries without having injuries. And again, the player chooses. So the player helps narrate the scenes. The player can set scenes and essentially ask for scenes. The player sets details in the scenes, etc. It's very much player driven. It's very much player driven. Yes, there's the GMs starting the scene, but the players have so much more input. Even if they succeed a role, it's the player saying what happens instead of the GM then having, oh, okay, this is what happens from the succeeded role. Often when I've asked the players, okay, can you describe the result of that, they go far further than I would have done, like for failed roles, etc. Because I like can you please describe your success or your failure? So it goes into trouble, goes into more details. I'm not going to go into all this, because Chapter 4 has a lot of details, a lot of bits and pieces, and we usually avoid going too far in depth, because you can get bogged down into books, even as 30 pages like this. But this is some of the bits and pieces here. So you've got suffering conditions, dice rolling, which we've spoken to, at least the brief, items and pride, luck, doing the almost impossible, answering questions, buying effects, non-player characters, failed rolls, pushing roll, helping each other, extended trouble, sneak, force, body, move, program, calculate, contract, charm, lead, investigate, comprehend, emphasize. So that's the rest of the book. So it's really, really simple. Very simple system, great mechanics, and they really work around the whole narrative of you are playing a kid, and they've got great systems around that narrative to help you in that mindset, to protect you in that mindset, and to also guide your play a little bit without really putting boundaries on yourself or on the game's master. So I like this style. Again, it's similar to the Powered by Apocalypse, more open style. I get the style I'm not familiar with and really hard for my brain to work. I like the concepts that they've got here, the ideas, the rules, the systems that they've put in place. I would like to see some of these systems put in place in other games. I'd like to use these systems in other games as well. And I have actually started using some of these for every time I learn in other systems, because I think they work so well. The narrative systems, the asking is a little bit is better than what I usually have for games which don't allow it. So I'm trying to do that, trying to use these type of things. And it's a nice box. It's got a great scenario, and it even gives you dice. So if you're new to games mastering, if you've got players that are new as well, it's a perfect one. If you're not new to games mastering, but you still want to have a look at the system, it's a great start to systems. Beginner boxes are amazing. Like, they're so good for learning a system. They will teach you how to games master a system and teach your players at the same time how to play in the system. Which, if you're again, it's great for new games masters. Even if you've got experienced players and new games masters, or experienced games master and new players, they are really, really cool. And even if everyone is experienced, it still will teach you the system really well. And the system itself, it's a decent sized book. Again, a lot of it's about the setting. There's a few scenarios in here too, but we made a different time at a later date do the full review or the full book review, etc. But this is just specifically the Talisman Loop starter set, because it has the more basic setting and more basic systems and subsystems in the game, which I tend to use anyway. I don't tend to go for the full rule sets. I will generally keep things nice and simple, but then again, we do try to put on shows, so simple does work best for us. But anyway, I think that's up for us for the day. I'm trying to keep these short, although this has got a bit longer than I expected. Have a great day, enjoy your role-playing games, and expect some different games coming up here. Thank you again for Free League Publishing for providing us with the PDF of the starter set, and also Syrinscape for the audio, which not a sponsor. Both these companies are not sponsors, but I just love using Syrinscape's audio, and just have that nice little drone, that eeriness in the background, which I like for this. It's that background. If I was to run a game of this, I'd probably put it lower, but lower doesn't always pick up with Twitch, so that's why it's a little bit higher than I would usually do. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming in. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments, and even if you don't like it, still like, subscribe, and leave comments. Positive comments, preferably. If you're just going to spam advertisements and stuff, you get blocked, so don't do it. It's just stupid. And that's me from GoblinCaveTV. Bye.